Hi, this is Pete Murray, CEO PBA and head of media at Lucky Strike Entertainment, and this is the Sports Business Conversation podcast.
Hey, this is Dave Almy of ADC Partners, and if you're like me, when somebody mentions bowling, you probably get a flood of memories. For me, those memories include things like past birthday parties for my kids, the casual, only slightly ironic Friday night out with friends, and that ill-fated league I joined with college classmates my junior year. Hey, the beer was cheap, and we made cool shirts. For Peter Murray, the new CEO of the Professional Bowlers Association and head of media for Lucky Strike Entertainment, those memories, and the fact that almost all of us share some version of them, are key to his plans to grow bowling into a global sports juggernaut. Murray certainly has the experience needed to pull it off. Prior to the PBA, he was the driving force behind the epic growth of the Professional Fighters League, which he helped transform from a regional MMA backwater and into a global media property. He sees bowling in much the same light. A popular sport that's been underexposed and is primed for a cultural makeover. In our conversation, Pete and I talk about his journey from cage matches to bowling lanes. We dive into the opportunity he sees for the sport, what strategies he'll carry over from his time at the PFL, how the new HBO series Born to Bowl is already impacting the game, and much, much more. The former almost NYPD cop also shares what skills he thinks carry over most, from policing to running a pro sports franchise. So stay tuned for that for sure. So thanks for checking out my conversation with Pete Murray, CEO of the Professional Bowlers Association and head of media for Lucky Strike Entertainment. Hope you enjoy.
So, Peter, as we get started, look, you've got this crazy extensive sports business resume, right? You were with the NFL, WME, you're with Under Armour, you were the founder of the Professional Fighters League. So, as we get started, I gotta know, like when you tell people that you're now running the Professional Bowlers Association, what's the most common reaction you get from people?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say most people say that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because there are so many, people who love bowling, love to bowl, the social experience, like participation, competition, but they also, follow the tour. And, they also recognize, at least the folks and the people in my world, there's growth. There's so much growth ahead, I believe, for the sport, Lucky Strike, and of course the PBA.
It's also one of those sports, it has to be like everybody has a bowling story. It's not like, when you watch the NFL, you look at these people and they're like, they're these enormous people and they've been doing this very specialized task and not that many people can relate to. Everybody's thrown the ball.
You're exactly right. Everyone can roll, from kids, and, it's a family sport, and you have young adults. It's a social experience. And then it ladders into, more competitive participation, right? With local leagues, regional leagues, national leagues. And then obviously the PBA sits on top with the very best players in the sport.
Now we're going to obviously dive deeply into the PBA and how you came to it and where you see the opportunities at what. Before we do though, because I think this is appropriate setup with how you came to the Professional Fighters League, right? Because you saw that and took that property from kind of a regional player in MMA into something much bigger, right? A global sports property. It's media distribution around the world. Can you talk a little bit about what you saw in the PFL and the keys to your success in growing that league? Because I think there's relevance as you start off on this new adventure.
Yeah, David, I think you're right. Well, MMA is much like every sport's an ecosystem,
sure,
right? And it's a platform. And so, in MMA back in the day, as the founding CEO, I had some great partners. Don Davis was the founder and my business partner.
Mm.
That was at a time where that sport, it was still in early days, and I would say relative to other sports, NFL, NHL, NBA, it's still relatively in its infancy.
Okay.
And UFC, sold for 4.3 billion, a little over a decade ago.
They did okay.
And the valuation has, since then, more than 3x.
It's hard to look at $4 billion and going like, "Hey, you could have done better."
And growth. No, they
Yeah.
built it.
Yeah.
And so why I jumped into that, I wasn't a fan necessarily of M&A. I had an appreciation for combat sports, love boxing.
Mm-hmm.
But the business opportunity to build a sports league from the ground up in a growth sport that's global, had an underserved fan base, and great talent around the world, and really nowhere for them to go other than UFC. So our business thesis, was simply UFC did the heavy lift. They did a great job.
Soften the market.
And, yeah. And so, but there's more room for more than one leader in the sport. So let's build it, but let's build it, with, today's world, as a relevant sports property, the way fans are consuming sport live and ancillary, and, be disruptive. And so we did that, and, had a great time doing it. It was an 8-year run, building it into the, number 2 MMA organization in the world. But, the parallels to the second part of your question is really, once again, it's a sports ecosystem. And where we have, and PBA, unlike PFL, is the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And PBA has the very best players and talent. And so, but I look at the opportunity where we can really reimagine the sport and be disruptive. It has, incredible history since 1958 and legacy, but we really have to take a fresh approach to, building in this next phase and design it, program it, for, once again, the way fans engage and consume with sports properties and be culturally relevant. But the second beat to it is, unlike, I guess PFL from the jump, we really launched a global sport property. PBA is domestic primarily, has fans from around the world. It has 25% of the top tour players come from outside the U.S., but there really isn't a meaningful international business. But that's a big part of my remit, to really expand its focus and footprint around the world.
I mean, I have to imagine that when you left the PFL with a guy with your background who had been at the, one of the big, the NFL, the biggest, you'd had experience growing things from scratch and really blowing things up with the PFL, and you had this really broad purview. So I'm assuming there was no shortage of opportunities that lay before you. So what was it about Lucky Strike and the PBA that made you go, "Oh, that's it"? Was it that you saw the vestiges of what you had done with PFL and said, "I can do this with bowling"?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think the first thing is really, it's Lucky Strike.
Yeah,
the parent company. Yeah, a entrepreneurial, founder, chairman, and CEO, and Tom Shannon, and it's built, an incredibly successful on location experiential, business with a cornerstone of bowling, with 360 bowling venues, across the country. And that's like number one. So that foundation, strong foundation, and
pretty big grassroots period right there.
Correct. Number one. Two, is the engagement. I mean, you're talking about 70 million people on average each year bowl.
Yeah.
And what I would say is over 25 million people bowl at a Lucky Strike bowling venue.
So it's almost like vertically integrated in that sense.
Exactly right. So when you think about that level of participation, ownership, participation, and engagement that's going on alongside, adjacent to a sports property in bowling, when you combine the two, it's a very powerful and compelling offering. To participants and fans, media companies, brands from a sponsorship standpoint.
Well,
So I think it's really scalable.
The analog here too is like how many, you think about the NFL, like they're always so interested in how do we get into youth sports. And you think about Major League Baseball, they're so interested in tying into Little League and growing the grassroots. It's kind of like Lucky Strike. It's already baked in. All right, that level of involvement.
True. I mean, you're talking, they have over 6,000 leagues,
Yeah.
at the grassroots level, within Lucky Strike. Lucky Strike's made up of Lucky Strike venues, Bolero venues, as well as AMF. And so when you think about that footprint across the country, and to your point, all those local and regional leagues, it's really attractive. And I feel there's a lot of unlocked opportunity, on the Lucky Strike side of the house combined with in the PBA Tour.
So can you talk a little bit about your role and the relationship between Lucky Strike and the PBA? Because your title is officially CEO of the PBA. E-I-E-I-O. And you head of media for Lucky Strike Entertainment. So can you dive into that relationship, and are the roles always complementary? Because those are two big roles that you're filling here.
Well, I think they're connected in that, number one, job one is to, build PBA into, a global, world-class sports organization and business.
Yeah.
But adjacent to Lucky Strike, which is an on-location, right? In the on-location entertainment business. But beyond bowling, there's opportunity to candidly get into other sports where, mass participation meets made-for-TV events and entertainment. So we'll be venturing into the entertainment world. We'll be venturing into broader sports. More to come on those details, as part of the overall vision.
Yeah.
And so, now you have a brick and mortar business combined with a, more expansive and meaningful media business.
It does kind of speak to this interesting place where bowling speaks to, and the opportunity that you have before is that ability to generate media and content associated with, let's call it's an underserved problem. We're going to get into the HBO piece in a minute, which is probably indicative of where things are headed. But without that need to fill the 60,000 seat arena, it really kind of allows you to focus on, okay, we're going to put on a great event. It's going to look really good, but boy, the media is the focus, and the optics is the focus, and the people are the focus. Is that one of those bridges between the PFL and bowling that you saw, like those kinds of components to it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, media first. I mean, in terms of monetization of live sports, that's the number one revenue stream, followed by, depending upon the sport and scale, sponsorship and the gate. Today, with respect to PBA related events, they're primarily made for TV. It's an intimate live events experience with anywhere between, 300 and 1,000 fans. So relatively small, because the majority of the events today, or all of the events today, I should say, are, within bowling centers across the country.
But it's almost like you're creating the sport in a studio to a certain degree. Yeah.
It is to a certain degree. It's made for TV.
Yep.
But I will say going forward, we will be, in particular with the majors. So, the PGA has, there are 4 majors, right? In tennis, there are 4 majors. And in bowling, PBA, we have 5 majors. And so we'll elevate the majors as a product strategy sort of going forward in the future. And then we're, having fun with reimagining a signature series of tournaments that, some of them have great tradition that will continue on and elevate. But, the fun part is also creating the new stuff that, we're really going to have fun with.
Yeah.
And then even, further elevate the PBA Tour on a regional level. I mean, there are over 170 PBA Tour regional events where pros are competing, in these local leagues. They're pros, but they're not on the national tour. And it's all, to me, it's all content.
Yeah.
And it's compelling, in particular, for a very loyal, fan base that follows the tour.
It's interesting to think of bowling, when I, Dave Almy, think of bowling, it's traditional, and it's, I don't know, it has a history to it, but it kind of fits in this very understood box. I think there's this just normal, and I listen to you talk about what you want to do with this property, and I feel like there's opportunity to put it in places that people don't expect to see it.
I love doing that, David. You're absolutely right. I mean, again, I do think bowling is a linchpin of American culture.
Yeah.
And so, we'll put on great tournaments and bigger events, but we can have fun. I mean, that's the fun. I mean, that's the thing about bowling. It's a 3-letter sport, and it's fun. FUN, period. Yeah. And there are different genres. So I'm excited about the PBA Tour product strategy and what we're going to do, but I'm also excited about entertainment and non-PBA Tour related content that we're creating. I can't announce. There's certain things.
Oh, you should announce it right here, right now. This is the perfect place.
We're getting ready, but you'll see us in candidly, the game show space.
Yeah.
You'll see us in the influencer league space. You'll see us, putting on other PBA events, tying in the PBA Tour, but not necessarily PBA Tour competition. And so, we're fleshing out that overall content strategy. But, my goal is to, expand the presence of bowling and PBA, both PBA Tour and on the entertainment front.
Is the playbook from the PFL and what you did there useful in this regard? Are you finding like there's so much crossover, like, oh, we did this and this is going to be successful here. You can just draw upon it. So it's not ripping up and starting over again.
I think in every facet. I mean, I think every experience I've had kind of led me to this opportunity, not just the PFL, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent 14 years at the NFL and, was part of, back in that era of, building mode of the league and in, a very high growth period, but it continues to be year over year or decade over decade, a high growth period for the NFL. I mean, I would say I'm looking at PBA through a lens almost as a startup. I don't like baggage. And so because of the ownership structure of the PBA, we don't have 32 owners. We don't have, encumbrances.
Thank God.
And things of that nature. So we really control it all. And so in taking a step back to say, hey, we're going to grow bowling. We're going to create more opportunities for great pro bowlers. But we have the ability to reimagine it and almost approach it as a startup, from the ground up. And that is the approach I'm taking.
Yeah, to your point, not having to convince 32 owners that this is the thing that you have to do and go through that process. You can almost pivot quickly. And that's something that happens a lot in sports. It does allow you to try new things, pivot quickly if it doesn't work out, and go on to the new thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's talk about timing for a little bit, because the timing here is pretty sweet. We've talked about adjacencies and content and building properties, and we got to talk about Born to Bowl. And for those who are listening who are not familiar with Born to Bowl, it's time to get yourself familiar with Born to Bowl. HBO premiered on March 16th. It's a documentary, and I guess it's fair to say it's Drive to Survive for bowling to a certain degree. But it's produced by Ben Stiller. Liv Schreiber does the voiceover. So I mean, this is prestige TV for bowling. How does that? Did that, and knowing that was coming, because this was in the pipeline for a while. This started in 2025 before your arrival. Did that impact your decision to join the PBA, seeing what they had started to do and say, man, that ball is rolling and I'm going to be able to build on top of that?
Yeah, no, exactly right, David. So I think, the leadership at Lucky Strike, PBA had a vision, and the combination of timing and bringing a collection of great creative minds together, Born to Bowl was born.
Yeah.
And with the powerhouses, in entertainment and media that you referenced, and, Ben Stiller, A24, et cetera, and some great, a production team and directors and producers who love the sport.
Yeah.
And so that was a big part, which, really helped illustrate for me the opportunity in that, bowling is going through a resurgence. and cultural relevancy. There's a real opportunity to come on board and be part of not only promoting things like Born to Bowl, but creating new IP and drafting off for that. So yeah, it's a 5-part series on HBO. Every Monday it drops the last episode of the 5, the premiering of each episode. We have one more, and it's been really well covered, well received, follows 5 PBA Tour players. And they're on their journeys behind the scene, and it's great personality.
But let's talk about that too here, because it follows the journey. It does a remarkable job talking about who they are and allowing them to express their personalities, but it doesn't glamorize it. I mean, these are guys who hold down the day jobs to underwrite their habit. They sometimes share hotel rooms, right? These are not Formula One drivers. This allows, I suppose, a level of authenticity to shine through in who these are. But as the guy who's charged with commercializing this property, how do you honor the truth behind who these athletes are while building a bigger business around it? Does that create complexity, or do you see that's just nothing but opportunity?
Yeah, I look at the opportunity. I mean, it's really all about humanizing these players.
Yeah.
And they're cool, interesting people.
Yeah.
They're journeymen. And it is an authentic.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. And it's an authentic look at the sport today.
Yeah.
And it'll continue to evolve. So, again, I think, Born to Bowl is doing, great things, for bowling, and it's doing great things to, expand awareness, create interest by viewers and fans, to now they fall in love with, EJ Tackett, who's, the number 1 player in the world. And he's one of the 5 players in Born to Bowl. And if they haven't seen PBA Tour competition before, they haven't seen EJ compete, this compels them to, tune in.
Yeah, what am I missing here? My gosh, this is something I haven't seen before.
Exactly right.
And it's close up.
I think it's good. I think it's all positive to build on.
Yeah. Now, we've talked about it a little bit, but bowling is kind of this sneaky popular sport in the U.S. I mean, there's hey, it's the birthday party contingent that goes, for the kids' birthdays. It's the people who roll on the leagues. But you're talking like over 70 million people bowl every year. It's one of the most popular sports in the U.S. from a participation standpoint. But I suppose the trick for you is, how do you convert that sometimes recreational fan or player or bowler who rolls a couple frames a year to somebody who's more passionate about the sport? Do you have examples of other things that you've seen, or case studies from other sports or other businesses that you're going to draw from that says, hey, this is how I'm going to develop this fan base? Here are the keys. What are the keys for you, Pete?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, you touched on some of it, but participation, absolutely. There's transfers to like engagement.
Yep.
And so, the more people go out and bowl, that's the opportunity to, engage them with, watching and following the tour. It's no different than baseball, and, you have all these little league kids, boys and girls growing up and then playing in grassroots, high school, et cetera. You better believe the majority of them are watching pro baseball, to get better, for entertainment and, to be, in the conversation in pop culture. So bowling's no different.
Yeah. Do you think that's been a missing link in the past? How like with Lucky Strike, how do we take the way, this person's through the door, now we're capturing the data? I mean, data, the data alone, right? Everybody, it's the current currency in sports, capturing information about that fan and getting them in your ecosystem, and then driving them up through the entire organization, particularly with one as vertically integrated as Lucky Strike. Is that something that you're looking at as being at the basics now? That we can,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have an opportunity, again, with that customer base coming through the doors every day.
Yeah.
Once again, kids, families, young adults, competitive players in leagues to, further engage them and promote the PBA Tour, promote the players, come on over and engage and watch. So it's definitely part of the playbook, and it's a unique playbook. We're unique. I mean, there aren't many sports that have a footprint of 360 venues and 70 million participants, and then of those 70 million, like close to half of them coming through your doors in a given year. And so, we have that, we know that consumer, we have a relationship, and we're going to engage them more and more on, again, as it relates to tour competitive content as well as entertainment. And then on the flip, it's also, how does PBA play a role in promoting the sport and driving more casual participation and increasing the business, on the Lucky Strike side of the house. So, there's definitely, a goal of driving enterprise value there from the PBA to Lucky Strike Entertainment.
Something you said that surprised me a little is that the demographics skew younger than people expect. That's a little counterintuitive to what I think I thought. I'm not sure if that
you're
makes
right.
it.
I will say, there is an established, older fan base who is very loyal.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have that opportunity, and we've been, focused on it, where, we love those fans and we want to continue to show up and engage. But, mission critical is growing the fan base, and in particular through, younger demographics. And I'm super encouraged by the numbers this year alone. I think Born to Bowl is playing a role in that. Our digital and social strategy is playing a role in that. Candidly, tastes are changing, in the country, of what people are looking for, outside of perhaps things that have been historically considered, mainstream and tradition, and traditional. Bowling's coming off as people are discovering it, and it's almost new to them. And that's fun while we've been around. So, I would say the numbers, about a third of our fan base are, 25 to 49. And that demographic in particular, like, 24, 25 to 34-year-olds is growing. So we're really focused on
the
that.
Digital firsts.
Yeah, digital first, social, having a conversation with your fan base, having them being part of it. And, influencers, who live in the world, who are also engaged in the sport and want to, be invited into the party, so to speak.
Yeah. Now your mid-season right now, we're recording this in early April. And the tour has been, it's been on the CW. It expands to CBS and Paramount Plus. They're doing over 30 hours of coverage. This is a pretty considerable broadcast footprint for
Major League.
Yeah, I mean, for real. And so, as those deals come together, what are you seeing about the PBA's ability to deliver what those media partners need and make sure that this is something that goes, oh, okay, this is 2026 through 2030? Like this.
Yeah, we look at it long term. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we have a role to play to, deliver that audience to our partners, both CW, CBS Sports, and Paramount Plus. We deliver a quality product, a loyal fan base that's growing. What I could tell you is, I mean, CW is doing a great job growing the promoting. What I would say is in the PBA,
making it a story.
We're cross-promoted in NASCAR, college sports. They're telling stories on some of their entertainment programming, and our numbers there. But I could tell you, we're outperforming major league sports. I mean, just alone this weekend, looking at stat on the CW, we're close to 500,000 live viewers, and like I said, a third of that fan base, persons 25 to 54, 25 to 54, but more on the younger skewing side. And that's a major league number.
Yeah, there's a lot of leagues who would love to have that kind of breakdown.
Including the NHL, including some national MLB, games on cable. And so, on CBS, we outperformed NWSL. We outperformed pickleball. And those are more younger skewing sports properties who are certainly on a growth trajectory. So I think for us, it's making sure that, we continue to present a quality product, but put it through a real lens of a younger fan in every sense of the word. And that's what we're doing. But tell our story.
Yeah. So as we get ready to wrap, I'm interested in what you think success looks like for you under your leadership. I mean, what's the thing that you look at and say, if that happens, I got it right. This went exactly as I thought.
Yeah, as I look at it, and I would say just inside of 3 years, we'll truly have a global footprint as it relates to distribution and global events that have meaning in the sport for regions and countries within around the world, whether it be World Cup type competitions and things of that nature. It'll elevate the sport. It will provide pathways and opportunities for pro bowlers all around the world. And there'll be more expanded, events and competitions for fans to engage on, and it will grow the business. There's growth here in the U.S., and it's a fertile ground outside the U.S. So I'm really excited about, that part of it of taking the sport and expanding it internationally, and ensuring, bowling and PBA has its rightful place in the world of U.S. sports.
I'm with Peter Murray. He's the CEO of the PBA and head of media for Lucky Strike Entertainment. Peter, thanks for joining me today. Before I let you go, though, I'm going to chuck you into the lightning round. I got a series of questions for you. You're not expecting these, but I just want to give you the answer, the first thing that pops into your head. Okay?
All right, David, let's go. Bring it.
Well, okay, Mr. Confident. Here we go.
Oh, no, I'm not confident at all. I'm just trying to psych myself up here.
Here we go. I've set the under over on the last round you bowled at 120, and I took the under. Did I win?
You won. It was definitely under 120. Okay. But by the way, now that I'm in the game, I'm starting to roll.
You're starting to see it?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. So talk to me next year.
All right, we'll come back in next year and we'll see where you're at. In an earlier interview, you mentioned bowling with your daughters as one of your favorite memories of the sport. What was the pizza order during a past trip?
Past bowling trip or
past bowling trip? Last bowling trip.
Oh, yeah. I would say, definitely with pepperoni.
Okay.
Well done.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. You're one of a select group of 2-time winners of the Sports Business Journal's 40 Under 40 Award. Do you get a smoking jacket like they hand out to 5-time hosts of SNL? Like, what's the hazing ritual?
No smoking jacket, not even a cigar, but, a lovely, crystal.
Not even a cigar.
Not even a cigar, but a lovely crystal trophy. But, it's always nice to be acknowledged with all your colleagues in the sport business. But that felt like ages ago.
I feel like I'm going to write a note to Abe, say that should be smoking jackets. You are a proud graduate of Iona College, which features the Latin motto, Certa bonum certamen. What does it translate into?
Wow. Well, Iona.
The lightning round is not for the faint of heart, man.
This is not it. And this is my alma mater. So I definitely didn't take Latin. And, but, it's sort of a mini version of the Fighting Irish, the Gales.
You're close.
Yeah.
Fight the good fight.
Yeah, I knew that. And we all fight the good fight every day. But
every day.
Yeah, that is the fighting spirit.
All right, last one. You were actually on track to become a police officer, going so far as to be accepted into the New York Police Department's Police Academy. What are the essential crossover skills between policing and leading sports organizations?
That is an incredible question. Yeah, I chose a different path. Although my older brother, my brother Ed, he chose to go into NYPD, and he ran the NYPD FBI Futures Task Force, and all I could say is, thank goodness for all those first responders and what they do, and it doesn't compare to anything that I have the privilege of doing in the world of sports.
But has to be a skill or two, right? Like maybe investigative questioning, maybe, flashing the badge to get authority, like anything.
Yeah, no, listen, maybe some of the investigative analytical skills, perhaps. And, Yeah, I really never thought about how the worlds differ or compare all that much.
Pete Murray, appreciate the time. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sports Business Conversations podcast. If you enjoyed it, we always appreciate a subscribe, share, comment, or like. And if you're the social type, you can always follow us in all the usual places. Don't forget, past episodes are located at adcpartners.com/podcast. A quick shout out to Scott Holmes for composing our theme music. This podcast is a production of ADC Partners. All rights are reserved.